violate the privacy of mannequins either. So, you know, we blur anything that even looks like a face. There's a funny example of one of the horses in New York City. You know, they have those horse-drawn carriages, and you know, the face of the horse is also blurred out because it, you know, looks like a face. The data sets are getting huge. They're getting updated very quickly, and you know, the thing about this sort of geospatial technology is that it's updated and innovated constantly. You know, we've probably added 3 new features to Google Maps in the last, you know, week. But you didn't know that because you didn't have to download an update, you didn't have to bring desktop stuff. You know, we're constantly adding data. And as an end user, you don't have to do anything special. You know, you just get the updates. If I just think about the last, you know, maybe year and a half, we put in walking directions into Google Maps. There's biking directions. There's Street View. Well, Street View is probably a year and a half old now. But we've just recently added that, you know, square cursor to a round cursor because we know, you know, where the stuff is. User photos. So if you've been, so this is the Macy's downtown. I mean, it's just a couple blocks from here. We, as Google, have all these pictures. Then there's things like PhotoBucket and Picasa and Panoramio where people have taken pictures. And someone might say Washington, D.C. Oh, interesting. But where in Washington, D.C.? Google actually takes all those pictures and matches it to the pictures we've taken on the street and marry the two up. So now if I click over here on photos, I should have pictures of, I mean, this picture was taken right here. How do we know this? Well, it's because we took a picture too, and we have technology that can, you know, match the two up. Again, just mass participation, adoption, and bringing in all these different data sets so that, I didn't even look at these. Yeah, so this is, you know, basically the same neighborhood as we have in the Macy's, and then I can get out of this. Okay. So huge data sets coming together in one location. I know this is a bit busy, but let me just kind of walk through this a little bit. These are some of Google's geospatial products. And this is probably not unusual. We have down in the bottom left is our free stuff. And in the bottom left, we have Google Maps API for free. We have Google Earth for free. We have the plugin, and we have a Flash API. All that's for free. This is where you are coming out to Google and looking at the data that Google has. So this is generally for mass consumption. You know, we're putting in layers like, you know, bars and restaurants and Save the Whales and, you know, things that we think a large percentage of the population will be interested in. The next bump up is more of our professional products. So you're still coming out to Google to see our data, but now we're giving you better tools. We're giving you a richer API, more features, a better client. You know, so if part of your job is to use some of these products, we just give you a better interface. Finally, you move to the right, and you're not looking at our data anymore. You're buying the tools to take your data set and publish it, just like Google publishes the data that we've negotiated. You're now taking your data, putting it into a Google interface, and presenting it. The data lives on your servers. The users come to your server to view the information. So, you know, we have, this is the kind of data that we have, or the kind of software that we have running both at CIA, NSA, NGA, and the whole military, but also states, you know, the state of Virginia, the state of Alabama, Louisiana. We have a number of different states who have their own data. Their roads data is better than ours. The information that they have is fresher than ours. Plus, like Alabama, you fly in and you see the sewer mains. You see the manhole covers. You see every single power pole is geocoded and on the map. Google as a company, I don't think that we will ever put in sewer lines of Alabama as one of our layers. You know, but if you're an Alabama state employee, that's great information. So we have these enterprise products that let you take your data and build your globe for your end users that has data that's relevant to their day-to-day job. So Google Maps I was just showing Google Maps, but you know, we give you an API where you can embed a Google map into your website. Let me just show you some examples of that because it's, you know, easier to actually look at it. This is AIDS.gov. And you know, this is a Google map, but it says aids.gov, locator.aids.gov. And if I put in a zip code, what's the zip code here? 20004. Okay, so we have Washington, D.C. And what you're seeing here is some information from aids.gov and some information from google.com. The aids.gov information is all these dots and points. aids.gov is giving you this key on the right and, you know, giving you the basic user interface. But what Google is giving you is the map underneath. So aids.gov, they know where the AIDS treatment centers are, and they have databases full of that, but they don't have to go build themselves a map, right? I mean, they just basically in their web page put in a little bit of HTML that says reach out to Google and go pull the map information. So what's really happening here? Typically, and I don't know how aids.gov has actually implemented this, but typically you'll have a database on the back end. So you'll have some geospatial enabled database, whether it's Esri or Oracle or one of the free ones like MySQL or Postgres, that's holding this information, location of the treatment centers, what kind of treatment center, information like that. And then using the Maps API, you just send a request to that database. Say, hey, the user is looking for something at 20004 zip code. The database then returns the information and it gets displayed on the map. This is actually using the free API. You know, AIDS, I opened up the web page, I looked at the HTML, and they're using the free API. So for $0 to Google, you have an organization like AIDS.gov who's, you know, providing a pretty decent map. And they've done a nice job. You know, I drop down and I can see all the different centers. If I click on one of the centers, it'll take me there. You know, more information. So this is the kind of thing that is becoming common. But you know, I don't see it so much in the government. It's almost like I have to dig to find some maps like this. I see it, you know, if you go to Starbucks or Target or Ace Hardware, you'll see this on every single website. Government, it seems to be not adopted quite as quickly, but you know, it's heartening to see this. Whoa, wrong page. Okay, here's another example. This is using our Premier API. So this is actually, you know, the one that they bought. Premier API just gives you HTTPS. I'm trying to get aids.gov to use HTTPS because then, you know, people might feel like they could give private information. You know, they might feel a little more comfortable about searching a little more deeply into specific types of, you know, services. But this one is a little more sophisticated. This is where is USDA spending their TARP recovery money? And if I hover over one of the states, it tells me how much money is being spent. Click in, shows me all of the different counties. And you know, so each county, how much counties are being spent. Click in a little more and it's showing me individual projects. So again, same idea. You know, the basic database information is being held by USDA. The users are coming to USDA, but you get a map underneath. By the way, we call this a slippy map. If you ever hear that term, what's behind this is a slippy map because it can slip around, obviously. There's also something called a static map, which is just, you know, a map. It's just a JPEG file that doesn't move around. And each one of them has its own, you know, advantages. Sometimes, you know, you just want an actual non-slippy, you know, here's where you want to go kind of map. Otherwise, you know, you can give them the full slippy map. Okay. So that's Google Maps. Two different APIs, free and paid for, but the underlying data is the same. Google doesn't go out and build two separate globes, one for our Premier customers and one for our free customers. You know, the underlying data, the roads, the imagery, and all that is the same, but we just give different APIs. And you know, the free API, you can have 50,000 hits a day or something. I mean, there's some large number of hits a day, but it doesn't scale up to an unlimited use. So if you're putting together a pretty big map, then you'd want to get one of the Premier products.